Today on the Nurse Coach Duo, we're bringing you fellow nurse coach Nicole Viennau to talk about movement in midlife and so much more. You're not going to want to miss it.
Welcome to the Nurse Coach Duo. I'm Coach Angie from Coach Angie.
And I'm Jen Schroer from Clarity Health and Wellness Coaching. Today, we are talking with Nicole Viennau. She is a fellow nurse coach, and we're really excited to have her. So if you're not sitting down or resting, take a break because wait till you hear about this woman. This is quite the bio. So Nicole is a nurse, a registered nurse with a master's in science in nursing. She is a board certified nurse coach. She is a former ICU nurse turned holistic well-being advocate with 25 years in nursing and 30 years in fitness and health coaching, and a retired Reebok sponsored fitness athlete and national presenter. I'm not done. Nicole is also the founder of Tucson's Restoration Room, so in Arizona, and is online with her company Blue Monarch Health, Blue Monarch Health, where she empowers midlife women to reclaim their joy, confidence, and ease through holistic menopause and lifestyle strategies. Her personal journey from burnout to peace fuels her integrative approach, blending integrative health coaching, fitness, yoga, Reiki, and sound and holistic healing events. She is also an author, speaker, and host of the Integrative Nurse Coaches in Action podcast. Wow. Welcome, Nicole.
Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you for this beautiful welcome.
That
It sounds
is
like I don't have any time, but I really do.
right. Sometimes you do. You say all of this about people, and you're like, "Wow, when do they ever get to relax?" But we know that that's super important to you, and
Yeah.
that is actually where I'd love to start out with today. Because when I was reading your bio and this piece about burnout to peace, I just thought that was so impactful when I read it, and I want to make sure that we tell more people about what that means. And if you could just kind of start there and tell us more.
Yes. Well, thanks for asking this question. And I didn't know at the time when I was in intensive care at the bedside, working multiple jobs. I had full time in nursing in different intensive cares because I did a registry position where I would be telephoned every morning at 5 a.m. and I would be told where I was going. And I would show up at a hospital that maybe I'd only worked at once or twice, or maybe never. And I would arrive on a unit and I wouldn't know anyone nor where anything was. And I would just jump in and be there and one of their intensive care nurses on the team. And I did that for many, many years, coupled with on the weekends, I would go and I would travel across the country and train adults how to teach group fitness. And I would present in local cities and across the country. And it was a very competitive environment. So that environment was competitive. Nursing is absolutely competitive in the sense of just making sure that we are on top of our game. I think it's more competitive with ourselves and making sure our patients are really cared for in these really high stress environments. Not only that, but coupled with me arriving at places where I didn't really know where anything was. I remember one story of arriving on a surgical intensive care unit and needing to wash my hands and not knowing how to make the soap work. So it was as minute as those little things to dealing with where supplies were in a critical environment and or potentially needing something or someone to help in critical environments where I didn't know anyone. So I was always being forced into building my resilience. And I think there's a point in time when you don't need any more resilience because you've done it. You've really strived to build the resilience. And then there's a tipping point. And for me, I didn't realize that I was going to the tipping point. And the tipping point for me felt like in my own life and in my own relationships, it felt like no patience for my loved ones, being irritable and not knowing why, jumping and hearing an alarm and jumping. And these are alarms I've heard a million times. And not sleeping as well as I could, and still trying to do everything possible that I could to succeed. And yeah, in my bio, it shows that, yeah, I'm a succeeder, but there was a cost to that. I didn't realize that I was becoming burned out, suffering from compassion fatigue, really burning from both ends. And I didn't have a way to renew myself. Now, I was doing fitness. I was doing eating well. I was, a competitive fitness athlete. I took care of myself physically, but I didn't understand that I had a spiritual component. I did, pray, but I didn't know that there were some other things that I could be doing to mitigate some of this excess stress that I lived in every day. I didn't understand any of that. I didn't even know. No one talked about burnout. This was probably about 15 years ago that I was really at the peak of burnout. And trauma, experiencing trauma on a daily basis. No one talked about trauma back then. And I was just accumulating that in my physical structure, in my physical body. And finally, I had an opportunity to step away from the bedside. I took numerous jobs to do that. And then I just didn't feel like myself anymore. And so I actually left the hospital. I left nursing. I took a job at the YMCA of all places. And I really, it was through that when I recognized, oh my gosh, there's nothing wrong with you. These are symptoms of the systems and the environments that you were working in. When I moved into the YMCA, I had a much less stressful job, and we were focused on wellness all the time, not illness. And I really recognized, holy crap, you didn't know, but this is what was going on. So then I started looking, how can I help myself? Because now I felt like I had the time, which is so crazy when I look back now. Of course I had the time back then. I just didn't know. And so then I discovered nurse coaching. I was at my computer. This was back in 2011. So I was at my computer. I was reading this description. Oh my gosh, I could couple nursing and all of my fitness and wellness and coaching experience, and I could become what's known as a nurse who does health and wellness coaching. Holy cow, I was crying at my computer. They're speaking my language. And how do I sign myself up? Of course, I had the barriers at that time, like, oh, it's going to cost too much. I had to travel to New York City 3 different times. I had to invest all this time and effort. And how was I going to do all that? And I talked with my husband about it, who's always been my most supportive person. And he's like, he sees me with tears. He's like, yeah, you're going to that training. So that's what awesome. I did. Yeah, I did it. I went. It was the beginning of my journey to healing. It was the beginning of my understanding of how much I had placed on my shoulders and over my head, basically, trying to be successful and trying to do my best and not recognizing that I was at my limits. And then the beginning of learning how I could restore myself and fill back up my resilience cup in a way, instead of just trying to scrape it at the bottom, barely making it. So, yeah.
Amazing.
That's inspiring for many people to hear. I love that. I love the story and how you got there. And so when you went to New York City, how was that? I mean, so you're in a room then with how many people that were there for the same reason? Do you remember that? Like, I'm just curious because I did an online certification, right? So I always wonder about that in person. I think that would have been magical.
Yes. And to be honest, coming from the competitive side of a type A who intensive care, black and white, protocol driven nurse, coming into a holistic environment, not being exposed to it before in my life, it was very intimidating at the beginning. And I could remember people, nurses, just looking like they were so happy and comfortable and hopeful. And I was not there at that time. I was like, this, I'm barely making it. I didn't really recognize that. Now looking back, I can totally see, and I can see that in others as well now, where they're coming from. I was ready, but I wasn't ready. And I can recall the very first thing that we did when it was called to order. There were probably about 30 nurses in this room. And it was in the Alma Matthews home, which is no longer, it's there, but it's not the same thing anymore. But it was a healing space. And we did a mindfulness practice and meditation. And all I could think of was, what the hell is this? But I really saw that in my mind. What is this? And I could probably see my face. It was like, wow, and I didn't come here to be doing meditations. I came here to learn the coaching, teach me how to be a coach, blah, 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 in my mind, and just shut off. Yeah. And I really remember that. And I also, like I said, I see that in people now because I really felt that I wasn't ready, and I was ready, and I wanted to be ready, but I didn't know how to do it. I was fearful. I was vulnerable. I was all of those things. I didn't want to show up like that. In intensive care, we show up like we know everything, right? And that whole persona of knowing it all and being the one. So, I had to take a strong look at myself. I invested a lot of time and money in that trip, the course, everything. That night, I went back to my room. I said, I'm not coming back the next day. Why would I go back there? Blah, blah, blah. All the stories that we create for ourselves. I talked to my husband. He's like, what are you, what? Of course you're going to go back. I'm like, no, I'm done. Come, I'm just going to take the next flight home kind of thing. I laid in my bed and I thought about it, and I thought about it. And then I thought, what is going on with you? Of course you want to do this. Of course, let's go. Let's go back tomorrow. You're going to learn everything you can. And then, it's going to help you. You're going to help so many people, all that story. So the next day I go back and Barbara Dossi, who is one of the co-founders of Integrative Nurse Coaching, she said, I would love to have a volunteer come up, and you're going to be the person being coached. And I was put my hand up. I'm getting my money's worth. I'm going to learn as much as I can. So here I go up to the front in front of all of these other nurses. And when I got there, I was just like a deer in headlights. I thought, what the hell am I doing here? However, that was one of the most impactful things in my coaching career, because I got to experience firsthand someone really, really listening to me and holding space for me. I still feel this emotion from that time. That was 15 years ago, but I had never had another nurse, or a person really, really be with me in that way that I see nurses do today, that are nurse coaches specifically, because it's just this unique way of being with someone and holding them and comforting them, and the way that specifically that nurses do. A lot of coaches can do their thing, and they may have that skill too, but I really feel like nurses are positioned very uniquely. Not only did she hold space for me, but she also had all of this knowledge of seeing people as patients at their worst day of their life, and she had that, and all nurses have that in our hearts and in our minds as we spend time with people. And I think that's one of the main things, let alone the knowledge that nurses have, right? The knowledge and the wisdom and all of that, coupled with these very powerful tools that coaching teaches us.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for explaining that. Just some of the things that you've been saying, I feel like obviously we're all nurses, so we've all experienced that, but I don't think you have to be a nurse to experience that either, right? Like, and not that I'm not saying that that's what you're saying. I'm just like expressing that to like make the point that especially as we move into this midlife, a lot of us find ourselves in that burnout, in that overwhelm, and not knowing what to do. And I love that you kind of, you put that into a great story and said, like, I just knew something had to change. And so you went and you found what needed to change. And that, like you said, that holding space, someone held the space for you. And it's not always a comfortable thing when someone does that in the beginning. And then all of a
No.
sudden you realize, oh my gosh, that's actually what I needed,
Mm.
and I feel like that's just a common thing that we all need, is we just need to be heard. So tell me a little bit about, so you went and you got the education as the nurse coach, and I don't know if it was immediately, but you started Blue Monarch, right? And you have decided to focus on women in mid health and movement, or sorry, midlife and movement. Kind of tell me a little bit about why you started your business and why that focus.
Mm. I didn't start my business right away. I was doing other things. I had it. Well, I didn't. I shouldn't say that. I started it right away, but I didn't have it officially started. If that
Gotcha.
makes any sense. It wasn't Blue Monarch Health back when I first graduated in 2012. In 2017, I decided to make it official and open Blue Monarch Health from an online perspective. So I started, knew that I wanted to add a fitness component because we're physical bodies, yes, and my background is that. I'm very confident in teaching people how to be very aware in their bodies and safe movements, safe processes as far as physical exercise. So I have a lot of background in that. But what I found when I first started was I didn't really even know who I wanted to work with. So I knew that I wanted to help people. And what does that even look like? And how do I find my audience? And who do I really want to work with? I knew I loved a population that was older. And I started doing some extra learning. So I have multiple certifications in different things. But I always had fitness in the background, always doing that, teaching yoga or weight training, personal training, group fitness, all of the things. And I went through a couple different niches at the beginning. I knew that I wanted to work with older population. I was working with like much older population for a while. I worked with people with early stage dementia for a while. And I loved it. And then I was like, it's not really aligning, but I loved it. But and then I probably about 3 years ago now, I'm almost actually 4 years ago, I started to have episodes of anxiety. I didn't know what that was. I just felt like things were speeding up on me. And I had no control over what that was. It felt like this was in 2020. So it was during COVID. So I kind of thought, is this related to COVID? I felt anxious, it felt like things were speeding up. And I felt like I didn't have time for anything. I couldn't really focus. I also started noticing body composition changes. And for an athlete who is a fitness competitor, that was like a huge, like, what the hell is happening to my body?
Yeah.
But the anxiety was number one for me. I didn't know what it was. My husband finally said to me one day, Nicole, it seems like you're anxious. And I was like, oh, that's it. that is what this is. This is anxiety because I've never really experienced it before. Maybe I had like nervous feelings or, doing things outside my comfort. Yes, but not this speeding up kind of feeling where I never felt like I had enough time and could I get it done and just like sped up. Like I was on speed all the time. And so he was the one who pointed that out. And I was like, So then that got me inquisitive in my coaching mind and my health mind. Why am I anxious? What is happening to me right now? And then that's when it clicked because I was 50. And I said, oh, this is what perimenopause is. I bet you I'm in perimenopause because who talked about it?
Right. Nobody.
Now we're seeing so much more talk. I'm so happy. I'm so excited for us women. But back then, even 4 or 5 years ago, hardly anybody was talking about it. I went down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out stuff for myself just to support me. Like, what can I do for myself? What can I do? What can I do? And then that's when I really discovered, there are a lot of other women like me experiencing this. So how can I use what I'm learning and support them? Because boy, I wish I would have had somebody to help me back then. So then I was realizing, these are my peeps. Yeah, these are my peeps. And how can I help them? How can I shift my business more towards helping midlife women through the transition of perimenopause, menopause, and then postmenopause, where it seems like I'm more landing now in helping women in postmenopause. So after the menopause transition, but then there's a whole other segment of life that we have after we go through this transition.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Angie.
That's awesome. No, I think I thank you for telling this story about how you landed here. I think for the nurse coaches that are going to be watching this and hearing this and I think it's really important to talk about, especially when you go into a new, we're all nurses, right? But it was essentially a new profession in a way, right? Like combining nurse and coaching and trying to find our way. Because I think a lot of new nurse coaches out there are trying to find their way, right? And and so I really thank you for sharing that story. And also, you've been doing it for a while and you've changed and and then you found yourself working with women in midlife, which that's really interesting too, how that happens to us, right? we go to what we're experiencing as well, right? I'm glad it's lucky that we're able to do that, right? And that you figured it out, what was going on with you and went down that rabbit hole and then decided to work with midlife. But that's awesome. Tell us about then the movement and menopause. Like what does that look like for you with your clients?
Yeah. Over the years, one theme has always shown up when I think of the fitness side of things, especially in women. It's that we lose a connection to our physical body. Now, I will say that women are the most powerful species on the planet. Yes.
Agree.
I feel like, or I see and I experience with talking and coaching women in this age group is that we have a few things going on, many things going on. One is we are in our peak of our career. So we've climbed the ladder, many of us, we've kind of moved into this higher stress environments and are succeeding in our businesses. So whatever we're doing, whatever job we are doing. The second thing I see is that we've generally almost raised our children. I say all that almost because they're always going to be our children. But the children are raised and they still need care. And then we have our parents who are moving and aging, and they are starting to need our care. So now we're in the middle. We're like a little sandwich, top bread, bottom bread, and we're in the middle. So we're in the top of our career. We are in caretaking mode of children and potentially adult parents. And then we're also aging. Yeah. We have decades of exposure from toxins, from traumas, from so much. that are living in our bodies. And we're at a very high stress time in our lives. And so what I see, and I mentioned that women lose touch with our physical body because we have all that other stuff we're working on. We have all the other stuff we have to do. And so we are like, well, the other stuff, the physical movement's got to move to the backside because I don't have time for it. And when I don't have time for it, I can't focus on it. And when I don't focus on it, it becomes my least priority. And then I'm not aware of what's physically happening inside. So inside, outside, inside, or externally as well. So when I noticed my body composition changes, when I was first recognizing that, I had lost touch with with my body. I'd lost a lot of touch with it. So how I focus help bring women back to that is slowing ourselves down to learn how our bodies are moving now in our stage of life that we're in now. And I think what happens sometimes is we think, well, I used to be able to do. Even yesterday I could,
Right.
or when I was in high school, I was an athlete. When I was in college, I did. And we look back, and meanwhile, we got to be looking forward. Like we got to start looking ahead because we have plenty more years. And we want to, I'll speak from but I also know that many of my conversations connect to this. Women telling me, like, hey, I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to hang out with my grandkids and, watch their games and, potentially help them practice. Or I want to be able to pick up the cat litter box and change the litter. I want to be able to reorganize my shoes on the top shelf, like all of those things that they want to be able to do later. And so, anyways, the reconnection of the physical body is important. It's an aspect of our health. And for me, because of my background in that and my keen awareness of watching someone move and helping them adapt their own technique and helping them create the awareness so that they're safe in their bodies, they can trust their body. They can trust it again. Because when you lose connection to it, it's hard to trust. It's hard to trust its ability. And so how do we build up the strength again? How do we build up the ligaments, the joints, maintain bone density? How do we increase muscle mass? How do we change our body composition if we want to? How do we do all of that? I mean, it's like a whole new puzzle as we move into midlife. But I do believe one piece of it and a major piece of it is the self-awareness of the physical body. And how do we reconnect back to the magic and the power that we have in our physical bodies?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny. I actually just did a presentation this week and it was on fitness in this phase and I called it the power within. So it's like basically what you're saying, because it is such a mindset change for women in midlife to understand that for, like you said, the focus cannot be as much on, exercise to be skinny and go and just this constant grind. It needs to change slightly to exercise for health, exercise for what you want in life, right? Like you were saying, do I want to be able to put my luggage into the luggage rack myself? Like for me, that's important. If I'm carrying it, I don't want, some man to think they need to help me, So it really is a mindset change. So I think that approach it makes total sense. And I will say I have been to one of Nicole's classes and it's fantastic. It is just a really nice group of people. I know you have different groups all the time. But great group of people. It's all online. She puts you through a good workout. And I can see just from the people that are in there that they're getting so much from it. And some people like to work out on their own. Some people need that group and that motivation. So I just love that you're doing that, and that's one of your focuses.
Yeah, it's been a blessing for me to be able to have, I started the menopause movement mission. I had the vision to create it and start it. But the women who are coming to it and continue to come to it, because I've had the same women, some of the same women have been with me for the past couple of years.
That's great.
Because they do find such benefit, yes, but the connections that we have, we know every Tuesday and Saturday we're coming together on Zoom. We're going to have a connection time to like just talk to each other, and then a time for an education component. Usually it's only about 5 to 12 to 20 minutes long, where we're introducing a concept of wellness, well-being, lifestyle strategies, better sleep, less stress, the to-do list, which Coach Jen brought to our group, and how to manage that. So we're showing up for each other. We're offering education. I usually bring something to talk about, but then I'm throwing it to the group. So what did you learn from this piece of information? What have you experienced in your life? And when we throw it back in the group coaching style, we're throwing it back to group wisdom. They're able to share the things that have worked for them or the things that they're exploring, and have support from the people, the women within the group, and or share their wisdom that then supports somebody within the group, so that there was this constant give and this constant take and receiving and sharing of information. And then we talk about some hard stuff too. Like we're talking about our sick parents, or we're talking about how are we ever going to, get into estate planning and, things like that. So we're talking about all kinds of things. And then sometimes those things can feel heavy. Or sometimes they feel joyful. It can be the whole gamut. And then we get up and we move. So then we're moving the energy around. So it's not staying just stagnant in our bodies, but we're actually moving our bodies. So in the movement component, we learn how to move safely. So we take one exercise, say a deadlift, and I'll break it down, show it, we practice it. We talk about the feet. How do we place our feet? What does that even look like in our bodies? Like how do, what does that feel like? What are our toes doing? What are we on the sides of our feet? Are we on the inside? So we're looking at that. How do the muscles feel as they go up the leg? Then if we're adding the weights, where do the weights go? Like where's my start point? Where's my end point? What does that feel like? What am I noticing in my body? And then when we're feeling comfortable with that, we'll just take that component and throw it into a mix of exercises that we've already learned or that we haven't learned yet, but we're just exploring. And we'll put it into, say, I call them steady state training sometimes, where we're just like 30 seconds of just doing that move, then we'll move to the next move. Or we'll do a Tabata workout, 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, where we get our heart rate up. We're just moving our bodies. And then eventually we do a workout. And then we always finish every class with about 3 minutes. We stretch always, extended warm up, always, always. And then we finish the session with silence for about 2 to 3 minutes. So that we're just encouraging our serotonin to come flowing back in. We're allowing the cortisol to come back down, because there's always going to be a natural spike with exercise. And then we're just allowing that kind of more equilibrium to come back into our bodies. And then we say, bye, see you Tuesday, see you Saturday. And we definitely have a Facebook group where we're in communication in between, and just different questions come up. It's been a delight for me. I've done a lot of programming in my life. I've done a lot of different things. And this program is something I truly look forward to programming, designing, connecting, like every single time. I'm not like, oh, I got to go there. No, it's like, yay, get to go there. So, it's one of those things that's really been a delight for me. And I know that it's making a difference. So it feels good.
That's great. Love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. These groups, are they open? I mean, just a little bit, is it, or do you have separate groups, or how does that work? If someone that's listening today is like, wow, I want to get into one of those groups, how would they do that?
Yeah, I would love to have anyone who's interested just reach out to me first. We generally start a new group every 8 weeks.
Oh, okay.
So this is kind of like an ongoing thing. It's been over 2 years that we've been doing it. And we have women, like I said, that have been with us through the whole thing. Some women have to leave for a session, then they come back the next session, or sometimes people just don't ever come back, and that's okay too. I think it's like it's been a kickstart for some women who have always worked out in their life, but maybe they had a hip replacement or they had something happen. They needed to slow themselves down and have exercise become more elevated again. It's for women who have never exercised. It's for all styles of women to come in and reconnect with the wisdom that's in their body. So every 8 weeks we do a new session.
Okay.
So if a session is already happening, it's going. I mean, someone can just let me know that they want to be part of the next session. Yeah,
that's great. I mean, it's just, I mean, Jen and I have talked about this in the past, is like with this, this big drive, this movement or in menopause, but like everyone's like lift weights. And like, there's so many people out there that have never lifted weights.
Yeah.
And they've done the aerobic exercise runner, and now we're being, we need to build muscle, right? We need to continue to be, keep our lean muscle mass. And it's just, I mean, a program like you are offering is brilliant. I mean, it's just, I'm sure it's been a game changer for so many women. So it just sounds so great. I love it.
Yeah.
And
yeah, the weightlifting in general, I think, can be very intimidating.
Yes.
Yeah. Where do I put my hands? What is that exercise? Like, what's an RDL? Like, I have no idea this lingo. I mean, it's part of the language of just learning like new language. So even that. And so our group is pretty basic. And at the same time, you don't need to keep it basic if you're an advanced exerciser. So, yeah.
Right. And it's also, and from what you were saying is, I think in midlife, we need community, because all of these changes that we've already talked about, right? And friendships and relationships are changing. And, I've heard from many women that very thing, and it can be a lonely time. And I think building community, it's one of the things I've tried to do with my programming, is when I offer classes, keep those women connected in some other way. And I just think it's really important. So good work, Nicole.
Thank you. I'm trying.
Yeah, no, you're doing great things. Tell us a little bit about the restoration room and why you were called to open this venue.
Yes. Okay. So I have two businesses. The first one's Blue Monarch Health, which is online.
Okay.
Restoration Room is a business that is in person here in Tucson, Arizona. So like what you just said, Angie, community is super important as we age. It's always been important. However, as we age, it's going to be even more important. We need to feel interconnected. We need to be part of something. So as we're aging, many of us in the first part of midlife are at the peak of our careers. Then we move into, we're going to retire. Now what? Yeah. So kids leave, parents transition, our responsibilities change. And then we don't have any responsibilities sometimes. Like, what is that even going to look like? So community to me is really important. The second thing, my vision for Restoration Room was, yes, community. Let's build a community. We have midlife women and their daughters and nieces and so forth coming to our events. What I've discovered I've lived in a lot of different places. Some places are really good at offering holistic modalities, and some places there's a missing piece. One missing piece I saw here in Tucson was the age group of the midlife women. Like, where are we going? What are we doing? We're kind of mishmashed with the youngins, or we're trying to do stuff like we used to do. And we really actually do need to adapt our exercise as we age. We really do. So for all of our athletes out there who want to keep doing what they used to do, you do need to adapt. Okay. So there's that. So the reason why I'm thinking that is I'm thinking of my own exploration of, yes, I can still do all of that exercise that I used to do, but there's a cost to me now. And one of them is my recovery time is a little bit longer. And I also don't want to feel exhausted at the end of my day. So I really have to look at how I'm exercising.
Yeah.
And when I feel like I'm exhausted at the end of the day, I know that my training session was probably a little bit too hard, and I just need to pull that back. So I'm exploring all of that right now. So that's one piece. So the reason why I'm thinking that was that I was doing a exercise program with the youngins, and it really wasn't aligning with me and how I need to exercise now. So I wanted a space where I could do some of this programming in person. And I wasn't seeing anything like that. So I thought, well, what are you going to do? You make something, create the thing you wish existed.
Yep.
The other thing I wish existed was some place where I could have explored some healing modalities that was safe for me to go to, that was available, that offered wide range of modalities. So at Restoration Room, one more thing I was missing was when I was moving to these different places, I always struggled with trying to find a place to actually have a group offering. So if I was wanting to program something and offer a class or a workshop, I found it really hard to find a place that I could really connect with, and that the owner really got what I was trying to do and trying to make that help that relationship. And it was hard. So I thought, well, wouldn't it be great if there was a place that offered many healing modalities, that it was easy as a practitioner to work with that person who owned the place. That's me. So I am always looking for really unique and new ways of practitioners coming in to offer whatever healing modality they might have. So we offer things from art to singing, chanting, to somatic activated healings like dance and moving our bodies, to sitting in circle, book club. Like it's like all of these different modalities, sound healing, sound activations, cacao ceremonies, like all of this different kind of things where I was never exposed to until I started doing this work. And now it's like in my facility. So it's easy for practitioners to come in and they use the space, they rent the space. So we get a little bit of money and they get a lot of bit of money to do their thing and help our community expand their vision of what their wellness could be. And then the final thing, of course, is the community of, we need a community. We need to come together and be with each other and have these meaningful conversations and discussions and experiences. And we can do that in a safe space at the Restoration Room.
Yeah. So, wow. Good for you. I love it. True nurse, sees the problem, wants to fix it, right? Get out there and do it.
I love assessment.
Yeah. I mean, I love that you,
right?
and you're showing, right. Exactly. And you're showing that like nurses are not just at the bedside, right? We have so many gifts to provide, and you are doing that. And I love that. And the other thing that I'm taking from that as well. So if your story about your anxiety and that type of stuff, it really kind of holds it. It's just so true. Like for me as well. Like I mean, my anxiety has been so different since I've gone into midlife, and movement is is like an antidepressant, right? It's a huge benefit for that. But we have so many different modalities now that we can use to manage our anxiety, manage our stress, and feel better. And that is really, I think, what nurse coaches do the best, is find the holistic way to feel better and to manage the issue that person is having. It's not, we don't have to diagnose and treat with medicine, right? We can understand what's going on, like you said, assess and provide those holistic modalities that can help people feel better. And I love that you're doing so many different kinds. We may have to have you back to talk about some of those things and we will be interviewing, hypnotists, Reiki, sound healers, all kinds of things like that on this podcast or on this YouTube channel. So you are right in line with everything we are loving right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So. I think back those 15 years ago when I showed up at the Integrative Nurse Coach Academy's Nurse Coach Certificate Program and not knowing anything about mindfulness. And I look at myself now and I'm teaching mindfulness and I'm a sound practitioner and I'm Reiki certified and I'm doing all of aromatherapy into my sessions, having an integrative approach rather than a one size fits all, which is what we were trying to do which we're trying to do. It wasn't working. We didn't know as healthcare providers at the bedside. And I love this, Jen, because you said about nurses. I often, when someone says, "Oh, I heard you're a nurse. Where do you work?
Yes.
What hospital?"
What
It's
hospital
always,
you're
"What
at?"
hospital do you work at?" And I was like, "I don't work at the hospital. I'm working in the community. I'm trying to help people before they get sick. I'm trying to, and if they happen to get sick, then we have modalities to support them in their healing. Like, we're all on a continuous journey of healing, and we're exposing people to things that they never knew were possible."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so I'm willing to be respectful of your time. This has been an amazing chance to get to talk to you. So let's just wrap this up with, you have one piece of advice that you would want to leave women in midlife with. I know that's so hard, right? To taper it down to one, but we like to ask everyone, just if you give us one piece that you want to walk away with, whether it's something you already discussed or something new, that you would want to pass on.
I was taking a breath to see what came to the
What came to
surface,
you?
and
We can do that if you want to take a couple breaths first.
oh,
We can all do
I
it
did.
together.
I did.
Okay.
The first thing that comes to the first thing, I like the second thing. The second thing is, do what you want to do. And what I mean by that is that we all innately know what it is we want to do. But so many competing factors are squishing that down and tampering it so that it becomes less important to us. And when we align with the thing that, or the action that we want to do, that is when we open up to even more possibilities that make us happy and joy filled and hopeful. When we squash the thing that we want to do, we become internal and unfocused and unhappy. So aligning with what it is that we want to do, whether it's a class or a trip or even deeper than that, then we feel more authentic and true to who we are. So please consider yourself and what it is that you really want to do.
Yeah.
And then moving towards that direction. It may not be like right away that you get that thing or more, but aligning with that.
Love that.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. 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 I know. Well, I am certainly inspired. I have
Yes.
by you and your work, and I've learned, I'm inspired, and I want to be like Nicole.
Please don't, Angie.
You be you,
So I
Angie.
want to be like Mike. I want to be like Nicole.
Right.
No. So, and I'm sure you're so knowledgeable, and I thank you for sharing all that you have shared for our listeners. And yeah, it's just been wonderful to have you on our YouTube channel. So we talked a little bit about how we'll put your information on the YouTube, how to reach you. We talked about the online. The Restoration Room is in Tucson, and we'll put that information in too. Just we want to make sure people know how to find you.
Yes. The best way to find me is to just email me. Now I'm talking to you listeners, because sometimes you think, oh, I shouldn't email that lady, or I shouldn't follow her, or whatever.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. I'm talking to you right now. Just email me. Yes. If you have a question, I would be happy to answer and help in any way that I can. So my email, I have two of them, but I'm only going to give you one here. So it's Nicole, NICOLE at blue, the color blue, BLUE, monarch, like the butterfly, health.com. So it's bluemonarchhealth.com. I would be happy to be of service and help in any way I can.
Thank you, Nicole. Yeah, we'll be sure to include that in our description at the bottom. So definitely still speaking to you in the audience. If you enjoyed this, please give us a like. Remember to hit subscribe. And if you have any comments or questions, you can put the comments right there below. Or like Nicole said, just message us. All of our information is going to be in the description of the channel video. And lastly, if you would like to find a nurse coach to work with, you can reach out to us. If it's not us, we can certainly put you in touch with somebody that can help you in your area. So thank you again, Nicole, and everyone have a great day.
Yeah. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
All right, Nicole. So just a few more questions. We're going to go with our rapid fire. We ask all of our guests this just so we can get to know you a little bit better. So coffee or tea?
Tea.
All right, me too. Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Yes. Cookie or cake?
I don't like either.
Neither. Okay, so what's your favorite treat?
Licorice.
Oh.
Yes.
Comedy or horror?
Comedy. I hate being scared. I hate being scared.
Too.
My husband will creep around the corner. He knows how I hate it.
I would kill my husband. Oh my gosh. What's your favorite self-care practice?
Oh, favorite. Probably working out.
Yeah. And your favorite go-to quick energy boost, which might be the same answer.
Quick energy boost? Just getting up and down out of my chair. Up, down, up, down, up, down. And shake my body. Shake.
Shaking is really good, isn't it?
Shaking is so good. It's so easy too. Shake.
I'm going to shake a little bit.
Yeah, right. Let's do it. All right. And last one, what is one thing you wish you would have known about midlife prior to getting here?
Oh,
I know there's so many.
That is okay to talk about it. That is okay to share what's happening. It's not taboo. It's not scary. Yeah.
Absolutely. Love it. Well, thanks for doing our rapid fire questions, Nicole. Appreciate it.
Thank you.